exclusive presentation of BYU Athletics in association with BYU Broadcasting. It's time to talk BYU football. You're tuned in to the Coordinator's Corner, live from JCW's in Provo, giving you the inside scoop on BYU football from the coaches themselves, JCW's, the Burger Boys. To lead things off, let's head live to your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Good afternoon once again from JCW's in Provo, Utah for the Coordinator's Corner, Mondays, noon to 1 with you here on ESPN 960, BYU Radio, and BYU Football Facebook Live. Two of BYU's three coordinators every week. It's our second to last show of the season. It's our last show with Elisa Tuiaki, BYU's defensive coordinator and D-line coach. Coach E joining us for the final time. We are at the end of the year already for you, and we get to end it on a positive note. Nice W on the weekend. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
31-21 BYU over UNLV. We talked a lot about Vegas last week. A couple of really sturdy quarterbacks, big and strong, good runners, 1,000-yard rusher, a legendary receiver in Devontae Boyd. Good weapons, and you guys kept them under control and win it by 10.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously going in, they were top 20 in the country in rushing, so we want to stop the run. And they ripped off a couple of long runs, but we're able to keep them. I think if we were to take away one of them, the longest one, 35-yarder, it was just a miscue by a D tackle and a backer. We would have kept them under 100, which is always our goal.
Even though that big run happened on the day, 3.6 yards per rush. And this is for a team, you mentioned top 20 in rushing. They were 10th nationally in yards per carry. You kept them to 3.6. And nationally on the year, you guys are at 3.86 defensively, and that's top 40 nationally. Good place to be.
No, it's really good outing. I mean, the D-line, we challenged them from the Fresno game, at least in the last little bit, and I thought they played well, and the backers as well.
They like to go to one guy primarily, Lexington Thomas, number 3. He's small, but man, he packs punch. Good cut, and again, 1,000 yards on the season coming in. Gets loose a couple of times. For the most part, though, you had a handle on him.
Yeah. Maybe he was a really good runner. The good scheme that they run for their O-line as well as their running back, and got us one time on just a quarterback pull on a read zone. But, for the most part, it's pretty solid. Not bad.
They only went with one quarterback. Armani Rogers was available, but they just used Stanton and pretty much contained him well.
Yeah,
as a runner.
As a runner.
As a runner.
Not let a couple of big plays early, and then really just in the last probably two or three series, gave up a couple of big passes that really when we go back and watched it is really just a matter of just technique and guys playing with eyes and just little things like that.
So on the day, Vegas earns 447 yards, but just 21 points. You'll take the points over yards any day.
Oh, no doubt. Most important stat in football, the score.
And if the offense can not turn it over, and there were 0 giveaways on Friday, you guys are +2. The last one kind of seals the deal with Fred, but the pick when it came was big, and let's get to that in a second. But +2 in the margin. Again, another good way to win a game.
Yeah, no, it was good. We always with that many passing yards, offenses can't sustain drives if we can come away with some of those, and so we ended up missing a couple of routine picks, I guess you'd call them. If we come away with those and a couple of tip balls that we would have been able to come away with, I think we would have had 3 or 4 picks. But it was good that Fred ended up with that one. Thought he got robbed on the touchdown.
Yeah, had they reviewed it, had they wanted to review it, they might have said he scored because he did. It looks like he did.
Yeah, but it just looked like a jerk. You're winning and the game's over and you're going to go and review it.
Yeah. Had it been a different situation, they would have looked at it closely and found out. But it was not identical to, but similar to the Boise State one last year where he's down the sideline and stretches for the pylon and similar looking play. So we'll talk with Ty about the Joe Critchlow part of the equation. Joe and the offense got out to a slower start. I think BYU had 17 yards in the first quarter, but no points allowed. And the game starts for you guys forcing a field goal miss, a punt, and then an INT after a 15-play, 79-yard drive. Getting out of that first quarter with nothing allowed, I thought was almost like winning the quarter for you guys.
It was huge. Zane came down with the pick at the end of it. That was a long drive. They were able to get some big plays and
7 minutes
sustain
plus.
It. Yeah, and they did a great job just keeping themselves in third and short. And I think they might have went for it on a 4th down in that drive, which was high percentage for them in the way that they run the ball. But huge for Zane to come away with that one, and got some pressure by the D-line in that exact play as well.
He makes the pick. What else does he do well leading up to it that you really liked when you went back and watched that play?
The great tackler. Zane is a great tackler. He's a good player for us, and really come a long way being in the shadow of Kai Nakua last year, getting his chance this year, and really going through the growing pains of just being a young player. He's come a long way, and we're excited about him and just to have him for another year.
Was that a pretty standard-looking play in terms of getting the pick, or did he do anything special on it to read it right and get to read it?
He played really good technique. He challenged and got underneath the ball. He undercut it, but we were in a man defense, and we expect our safeties to cover man-to-man as well. And so he did a really good job and came away with it. It's just a matter of getting a little pressure on the quarterback, making the quarterback move his feet, and a guy playing really good defense.
So it kept it 0-0. You guys open on top in the second quarter and then get to halftime with the lead. And as we talked off the air, BYU is a really good team when playing from ahead, and taking that lead into the locker room was key for you guys on Friday.
Yeah. I did not know that stat that you told me off air, but just shows how important it is for us to get off to a good start right away.
So we mentioned Zane's pick, Fred Warner's pick. He doesn't end up with a ton of numbers on Friday, but I thought it was one of Sione Takitaki's better games again. I thought he was a real handful for them.
Yeah, he's disruptive as a player, and I think every week he can be a disruptor. Did a really good job. Thought Corbin had a really good game.
Yep.
Corbin had a good game, and Kairos might have had his best game, which was coming off the Fresno game where it was his worst game. I thought it was good. He responded, but the DNs, the DNs do a good job, and I trust the other guys too to come in. And Lagi Tuifua came in with the limited snaps that he had, was just really disruptive. And so thinking about just giving him more opportunities to come in, and the better that those guys do, then the more we can rest the other guys and just keep them all fresh and keep them rotating. But Trajan Peely does a good job as well when he comes in.
There was a play, I think it's second half, and I do think Lexington Thomas picks up a first down on the run, but he comes to the near sideline, and Kairos comes down the line and makes the tackle on the sideline. Again, I think the first down is gained, but to see a guy that big from that spot make the tackle on the sideline, you don't see that a lot, and especially from a guy that size to move that quickly, and Thomas was feeling it when he got up. It was slow to get up.
He's a load. He's a big kid, but like we've told about his past. He played tight end in high school, and so in his mind, he still runs like a tight end. And it's great for us because you get a guy that 340. I don't know if he's 340, might be more, but running that well and playing that physical. It's a big deal for us, and he's obviously going to have a bright future for us.
So when I was making that play-by-play call, I'm alarmed because the nose tackle doesn't make that kind of tackle. Did it stand out to you when you go back and look at it? Is that just Kairos being Kairos, or was that just an exceptional play in your mind?
It was both. It was an exceptional play, but I think it just shows what he's capable of. And when he's playing well and reacting to blocks and just getting knocked back and doing all the things that he's coached to do, he can make those really good plays routine.
You brought up Corbin, and he ends up with a sack, I think a sack in the game, and other numbers of note. How has he come along from game 1 to game 11 at that spot for you?
He's come a long ways, and he works really hard at it. He gets in and gets extra lifting and makes sure that he's eating the right things. And so he's getting bigger, getting more physical, and playing a lot better with his hands. And the sky's the limit for that guy because he's got a lot of tools a lot of people don't have, and he works hard at it. He doesn't just show up and do football from whenever he's in the building, but he's doing football outside on his own and works hard at it.
Corbin and Sione are back for you, right? Mm-hmm. Next year.
Yep.
Kairos is back for you. The guys we're talking about are still playing for you for some time to come. That's a positive.
Yep. Get those guys back and get a couple of guys back like Vitas from surgery, and these young pups that are coming up are going to be really fun to coach. Future looks bright. Coming up later in the show, we'll have your questions for Coach E. Coach Elisa Tuiaki, D-line coach and defensive coordinator. Use the hashtag CCBYU. If you're on Twitter now, use the hashtag CCBYU and use that to fire in a question for Coach Tuiaki. We've got more Coordinator's Corner coming up after the break. We're live at JCW's in Provo on BYU Radio, ESPN 960, and BYU Football Facebook Live.
Okay, that's good. Whoa.
Welcome back into JCW's Coordinator's Corner till 1 o'clock. Coach Ty Detmer coming up in the second half hour. BYU picks up its third win of the year, 31-21 at UNLV on Friday. It's home to UMass on Senior Day. For the Cougars, Coach Elisa Tuiaki, D-line coach and defensive coordinator with us for this half hour. Big plays have been something you've done a pretty good job keeping to a minimum this year against you. Looked it up yesterday. There are only 10 FBS teams that allow fewer plays of 20-plus yards per game than BYU. So you're very highly ranked in that. There's a value in keeping things closer to the line of scrimmage and not letting the big ball get against you, and you've been good at that pretty much all year. Yeah,
and that's been one of our goals from last year all the way carrying into this year. It's limit big plays as well as get takeaways, and we haven't been as good getting takeaways. I think a lot of times we're playing from behind, which people are just running the ball and they're more cautious. But when we're playing from ahead, it allows us to pass rush a little bit more and forces people to pass the ball, which creates takeaways.
Schedule may be a bit of a factor here too, but I think you had 5 takeaways in the first 6 games. I think you've got 11 in the last 5, so more than 2 a game, closer to your preferred average of 3.
Right. Yeah, they've been doing a better job, and just little things, a tip ball here, a guy playing the technique the right way, and just things start coming together that way. But also, I think just being in games, a little bit more competitive games, it always allows for us to, on defense at least, to get more takeaways.
We broke down Zane's INT in the last segment, and Zane was your defensive player of the game for UNLV?
He was. Zane did a really good job. Great tackler. Just did a great job. Came away with that one interception and played solid all around the whole game.
Micah Hanneman made some plays. 9 tackles, 7 solo stops, tackle for lost, forced fumble, pass broken up, so both safeties made plays. And then your corners, there were a lot of yards against you, but there were plays being made there as well. Chris Wilcox had a couple of pass breakups. Let's let folks know about how the corners are performing beyond just the straight yardage standpoint.
Yeah, they're just telling you off the air, my brothers came over. We sat down, hung out, and they asked me. I'm just frustrated about all the big plays that we're giving up. And, with the type of defense that we play and the things that we're asking the corners to do, especially with making people really throw it up the sidelines, right? That's what we're trying to do. Stop the run, keep them under 100. If a team throws for 300, then we expect to get 3 takeaways. So, at least 1 takeaway every 100 yards. Okay. Because when you're forcing people to throw the ball up the sidelines, they're 50-50 balls, then obviously they're going to come down with some. They're going to come down with some, we're going to come down with some, and we're okay with that. We don't feel like the teams can sustain drives if we're taking the ball away, even if they're throwing for that much. So you can throw for 300 and still lose. You end up rushing for a bunch and not throwing for that much, then you can still win, is the way that we feel. And so it's stop the run, really challenge in the way the corners and safeties are playing, man-to-man, and making quarterbacks beat you. And I think that when we went back and watched the film, and it's just technique. Just little technical things, but we feel like we're really close. Those corners playing the way that we want, which is really aggressive man coverage type deal, and forcing those. They extended a play on 4th and 10, throwing the ball and just getting a PI on Chris, and he was so close to either intercepting it or just playing really good defense. And it's just a matter of him turning it at the right time, and it could have gone either way as far as whether they threw it or not. And so we want to stay aggressive, and we want to continue to teach those boys that sometimes. Offenses are good, right? They're still going to complete the ball, but we want to be aggressive in the way that we play in stopping the run, as well as just making them throw it up the sideline. Those are we feel are the balls that are less frequently completed. And with that being said, they're close. They're really close, and it's hard because I know a lot of people giving them a hard time, and all the big plays at the end, which is true. We got to play better, but at the same time, there's a lot of strides that we're making with that group, with a specific group of the cornerbacks.
And you've got some corners back next year as well, too.
We do. Chris comes. So, Travion Green right now is where Chris was last year, and Chris right now is farther ahead, and we've got 2 more years with Chris, and with the type of athlete that he is, how fast he is. We feel like he's a big-time player. And we just got to, that's the recruiting philosophy as far as going out and getting fast kids that might be a little, not the best player on their team in high school, but the kid with the most projection as far as tall kids that can run. Mm-hmm. And, Chris fits that. Travion fits that. Travion was a receiver. Chris played safety. And so those guys don't have very much experience playing corner, but they can do what we ask, which is be in the way and be long and run. And so as they continue to, we refine them and just get them where they need to be. We feel like they're 2 big-time corners. One's redshirting right now that played quarterback. And so it's just, long athletes that can run are the ones that fit into our defense.
Who's the one redshirting?
Keenan Ellis.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You mentioned that fourth down PI call, and interesting that the catch was actually made, which I didn't see initially. I thought it was actually out of bounds on the boundary. They ended up declining the PI because the guy made the catch. It was a heck of a grab.
It was. I mean, they're going to make their – and we have to, as a defense, be realistic about it, right? Like, they're going to make their plays. We're also going to make our plays, get a couple of PBUs, and that's why PBUs for us falls under a big play. Disruptive, because PBUs are huge for us in the way that we play defense, as well as – I mean, some of those balls in the past games, as well as in the one that we just played, there's a couple of balls up there that need to be picked, and we need to come down with them. And we're just, technique away from it, or just a youth away from just being a team that people don't want to test down the sideline anymore. And right now, we've got to match that up with the D front, which those guys too, are still getting to the point where we've got to kind of sync it up. Corners know they can play a little bit more aggressive because the D line's going to get there and they have the clock in head. And it's just like, okay, ball's got to be out, anytime now. Right now, we're not at that point. The D line rush has got to get better. Getting big dudes like Kairos and DNs that have a little bit more experience with that is going to be good. But also just playing ahead, right? Having a lead and having the opportunity to rush the passer is always allows you that.
Okay, more tackles for loss per game would be a goal moving forward. One quick thing before the break. Well, we'll wait till the next segment. We'll come back to the next segment. We'll do a hashtag CCBYU. Your questions for Coach Elisa Tuiaki as we continue. The Coordinator's Corner, JCW's in Provo on BYU Radio, ESPN 960, and BYU Football Facebook Live.
Hi, I'm Ed Siegfried. It's great to see
from JCW's in Provo, this is the Coordinator's Corner on the new skin BYU Sports Network. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
BYU's offensive coordinator and QB coach Ty Detmer's coming up in the second half hour. It's our last segment for this show and for the season with Elisa Tuiaki, BYU's D-line coach and defensive coordinator here on the Coordinator's Corner. BYU a 31-21 winner at UNLV last Friday. Cougs now 3-8, home to UMass on Saturday for Senior Day. Haven't done a quick check of this, but seniors you're losing from the from the defense this year come to mind? Micah's, I guess, one, right?
Micah's one that's starting, and then at the deep front we lose Handsome and Kesney.
And then Fred will be.
And Fred
will be gone.
Yep, and that's I think that's it.
The main number. It's not a ton. That's a positive thing for seasons to come, is you don't lose too many seniors. But Fred's a big loss, and Fred ends up with that INT at the end of the game we alluded to earlier. What do you have to replace when he takes off after this year, next year?
Just a really, really savvy ball player, and he's big. I mean, he should be playing in the box, and I think that's going to be his natural position at the next level. But because he was just a freak athlete, I mean, we used him out there like a nickel pretty much, and does a really good job covering. Is a great blitzer. I mean, just does everything well.
So Fred will be sorely missed. Butch comes back, and who else will kind of help fill up that linebacker core next year?
So we get Adam back. Adam Pulsper comes back as well.
Who's starting right now?
Who's starting right now.
Yeah.
I think off the top of my head. I mean,
well,
all the guys that are rotating.
If Matt Hadley gets back, we'd see stay linebacker, wouldn't he?
We expect Matt Hadley to come back, and he's going to end up being at the bow backer spot as well, where Adam Pulsper is. So Adam was a backup Mike backer when Matt was playing, and when Matt got hurt, then we moved Adam over.
Isaiah Kofusi?
Isaiah Kofusi is going to have another year under his belt. Kujay Tapasoa right now is playing. He's backup.
Is Chaz going on a mission? And is he going to stay a linebacker, do you think?
Chaz is planning on going on a mission.
Okay.
And I think we think that he's the future at where Fred was. Basically a big safety that can come down and play backer. And so he's exactly the same mold as Fred. Not as big, but exactly the same guy. And then there's a couple of redshirt guys that we feel are going to be really good. Will Sedgwick, kid that we got, Christian Folau that went on a mission, signed him at Oregon State, was committed to Stanford for a while. He comes off of redshirt as well as Garrett England, who was playing safety, and we moved him, and he's going to end up being a flashbacker as well, just same mold as Fred.
Okay, we haven't seen Chaz play a lot this year. Has he shown you enough?
Oh yeah. Chaz is definitely capable. He just happened to be backing up Fred, and that was the deal. And so it was too bad we ended up losing him in Mississippi State, and hopefully we can get him either this week or next week just to get a little more experience. But he's definitely a player.
Okay, this last game you guys allow 21. You can win a lot of games allowing only 21 points, provided the offense does its job, and they really did this past week. And they scored 31 with a new starter at quarterback. Let's give some props and have you take a look at what the offense did that helped you guys out on Friday with a new quarterback.
Yeah, it's a different game on defense when the offense is clicking. I mean, like I said, playing from ahead instead of playing from behind, and also I think just the kids on the sideline have a little bit more faith about going out there and getting the ball back and making stops and feeling like the offense is going to get out there and do their thing, which Joe did, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. I don't watch film on the offense,
right,
but just on the sideline was really excited about that, and Squally did a really good job running the ball, and his offense looked good. They were clicking.
Yeah. As someone who defends a lot of running backs, Squally Canada as a running back, the last 2 weeks at least, is kind of a different guy, running more aggressively, more fiercely, and the numbers speak for themselves. It was a huge night for him on Friday.
Yeah, done a good job breaking tackles. I mean, it's one thing when you just take the yards that the O-line gives you. It's another thing when you can break tackles on your own and get more yards. And that's always, I think, a sign of a good running back is you make the O-line look good. When they end up messing up blocks, you can make a guy miss, but also just taking more yards than what you're giving from the O-line.
Certainly, your guys are going to want to play with maximum effort every game, no matter who the opponent or what the situation. But with a new quarterback in, knowing that there was a freshman starting and a freshman backing up, did the defense feel a little more of an incentive or an onus to make sure that that this game doesn't get lost on our end, that we help the offense out a little bit with a new starter?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's urgency for us to really get off the field as well as try to get the ball back and give it to them, and but there's a lot of momentum. I think as a whole team on the sideline when Joe started to have some success and they're running the ball effectively, I mean, just scoring and going down, and also just his personality. I mean, he was on the sideline really geeked up about everything, and it was fun to be around.
How much do your guys know Joe at this point?
I don't know that. I mean, everybody knows everybody, but as far as just our crossover with each other, I don't know who his best friend is.
What's your sense of him?
He's a kid with moxie. He's really, really confident. He's just from the times that we've gone crossover and faced him on defense. I mean, when he makes mistakes, I mean, really hard on himself. But also, I mean, a kid that seems like he's got a lot of command of just the offense, of guys' respect, and feeling like he needs to be accountable to his mistakes as well. And I think he's going to be a really, really good player. And I think that he's got what it takes as far as just the way that he is, his personality, the way he carries himself. I really like the kid.
We'll get a QB's perspective on Joe with Ty Detmer coming up in the next half hour. You guys came into the UNLV game 2-8. Okay, you're 3-8 now. We know what's not going to happen this year, but there are some good things that can still happen for you. And I would think that a celebration to get to 3-8 is still a meaningful one. And when you guys get to the locker room, you guys let yourself enjoy it, because that's a reward for a team that's had its share of blows against it this year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, we did. And, it's funny you say that. I think it was, I think after our 5th loss in a row, we were in the office, and Reno comes up to me. He's like, "You said it last year that wins are hard to come by." He's like, I didn't really know what you were talking about till now. I was like, dude, college football, it's hard to win. Everybody's out there gunning, everybody's got their schemes, and everybody's recruiting their tails off. And to pull a win off, I mean, I think you got to cherish it, because it's a hard thing to win in college football. It really is. And so, big up to really what Bronco done in the past, and sustaining this program, and just I think what we have moving forward is going to be really exciting.
And whether it's basketball or football, they win at a similar rate. Basketball's won 20 or more for 12 straight seasons. Football had its 12-year bowl streak. And whether it's trying to win 20 games or win 10 games in football, 20 in basketball, 10 in football, or get to a bowl game in football, yeah, there is that notion that don't take it for granted. It's hard to do, and dip years happen for a lot of programs. BYU hadn't had one until a long time until this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe it lets everyone appreciate a little more and not take for granted how much winning BYU's been doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really successful program, and I've known that just growing up a fan, as well as just coaching against them at other programs, and BYU's done a really good job. And obviously, with having a national championship back in the 80s.
Yep, 84.
There's a high standard, and everybody wants to get back there. And just, winning 9-10 games, going to a bowl game is great, but the next step, and really, especially as an independent, is seeing if you can get into the playoff, right? And I definitely believe that it's doable with, everything basically working for us. We stay healthy, and you get the right kids in the program.
I mentioned the phrase dip year, and that's, of course, the hope is this is just a year, right? And that it's back to normal, I guess, next season.
Right.
Last thing, UMass coming up Saturday to your place. Maybe a 30-second thumbnail on the Minutemen and what they do and do well.
Yeah, they do a really good job on offense. Just from what we've seen, they do a good job scoring. They do a good job taking care of the ball. Between 2 quarterbacks that they play, they've thrown the ball, I think, over 350 times and only thrown 4 picks. And so really, really efficient with the ball. And O-linemen are big. They do a good job. I think they're a lot like Washington State as far as their O-linemen. They're not good run blockers or maulers, but they do run the ball to keep you honest, but they want to pass the ball, and they do it really, really effectively. And so, good offense. Probably the most complex scheme that we've seen all year, and it was the same last year. Lots of unbalance, lots of different personnels, lots of shifts, motions, and just different runs. Nobody really runs draw nowadays. You see 1 or 2 teams will run it once or twice. It's probably their lead run play, and that means that they want to keep you honest and throwing the ball. They want to throw the ball and just run the ball to keep you honest, just throw the ball. But really good quarterback.
Rough start for UMass this year, 0-6, but they have won 3 of 4 coming into Provo. It'll be senior day for BYU Saturday against Massachusetts. That's going to do it for our first half hour of today's show. Ty Detmer coming up in the second half hour. We'll talk offense, and that'll do it for Coach Elisa Tuiaki this year. So, Coach E, thanks for the season.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Coach Elisa Tuiaki on the Coordinator's Corner here on BYU Radio, ESPN 960, and BYU Football Facebook Live.
For over 100 years,
Let's head back to JCW's in Provo and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
All right, the second half hour of our second to last show of the season. Coordinator's Corner here at JCW's Mondays, 12 to 1. Next Monday is our final show. We're already into game 12 of 13. BYU's OC and QB coach Ty Detmer with us for the second half hour. Ty, good to see you once again.
You too.
And good to get a win behind you coming into this week.
It is. Yeah, wins are always good.
31-21. That's one of those great coaching tidbits you get. Wins are always good. 31-21 over UNLV in Vegas last Friday. And with a new starting quarterback, a freshman starting quarterback, and Joe and the guys, the team, got it done.
They did. It was, it was a great team win. We, played good defense, got a couple turnovers, and had good field position most of the night, so that helps. And then we were able to run the ball, which took some pressure off of Joe and opened some things up for him in the passing game.
Got a couple of turnovers, didn't give up a single one, and you win a lot of games at 0 turnovers.
You do, and that's been a focus, of ours all season long. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's something we stress every week. And a couple balls came out late on a play, but they were down by contact or whatever at that point. So we avoided the turnover battle, and we win, like you said, we win a lot of games when we do that.
Yeah, +2 on the night and 0 turnovers, winning formula. So with a new starting quarterback and a freshman getting his first career start, ball security would have to be considered one of the best things to get done on that night and make it so it's a game he can manage. And so to get Joe out of there with 0 giveaways on a night when he doesn't have to throw it 40 times was really positive.
It is. Our offensive line's played well all year, and it was nice to see Squally run hard. He ran through some tackles and got some extra yards for us at times. And
second good week, because Fresno was a lot of the same.
It was. So he's put 2 weeks in a row together, and I think confidence is high with him and with us with him. And so, we may get KJ back, which will help take some of that pressure off. But Squally's done great the last couple of weeks, got a great attitude, and kind of hung in there and stuck with it, and it's paying off for him. Now,
usually on the show, I share a bunch of numbers that Ty may or may not care much about. Okay, he's pretty basic in terms of what he wants to see, and he got it done with the points and the win, all right? But the offensive line and the backs need credit for this. BYU's 4th nationally right now in fewest tackles for loss allowed per game at 3.27. And there is great virtue in not giving away yards or losing them on sacks or running back carries. And so great protection, and the backs doing their jobs too, and quarterbacks too.
Yeah, that tells you that we don't have a lot of miscommunication. Guys know where they're going. They know the scheme, and so we're not turning people loose in the backfield, and they're playing with a lot of effort, and the backs do a great job of not dancing too much. One cut and downhill and get what you can get. So it's nice to know that we're not giving up a lot of negative yards and putting ourselves in a hole in the running game.
Joe Critchlow completed 14 of 22 passes. Modest numbers, relatively speaking, but it means he didn't have to throw a lot because the run game was going well. And it was still a decent number of yards on only 14 completions, double-digit yards per completion, which is solid. 63.6% completion rate, and that's the best mark for BYU since Taysom against West Virginia last year. So Joe's numbers were really solid for not having to throw it a ton.
Yeah, I think the run game obviously helped him, but it also he did a good job of taking care of the football and putting it in places that only we could get it, and was careful on some things. When you get down in the red zone, you're a little careful. And Aleva made a great play in the back corner of the end zone, keeping a foot in. I thought there was no way that ball was caught, and but that's a situation where he put it high and outside, and only Aleva could catch that, and knowing that we had points on the board right before half and getting the ball again at the start of the second half. So he managed the game really well, took care of it, made some big throws in there when we needed it at times, and I think it was a great building block for him and give him some confidence going forward.
That HEFO play was huge, and you were not alone. I'm in that corner, and as the ball's up in the air, I'm thinking that's an overthrow. Then I see Aleva's going to get to it, but it was such a bang-bang play between catching and being out. My initial call was out of bounds. Then I see the official signal touchdown. I'll take touchdown because I thought he was out.
Yeah, it was one of those things from our viewpoint way on the far side. When the ball went up, I was like, oh, man, we threw it out of bounds. You got to throw it sooner or in the red zone, get it up quicker and flatter. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I hear them in the headset saying they signaled touchdown. And then, you know, they saw the replay.
You're waiting
and
for it, yeah.
Hey, he was in. He had a foot in. That's a
Crazy.
touchdown. And
yeah.
so, you know, then everybody goes nuts. And it was big because you put a 2-minute drive together right there. You score, and then you're getting at the start of the second half, and we break a long run and get another touchdown right away. It's really a 14-point swing at that point.
It was 7-7 when he makes the catch. You're up 14-7. As I share with my listeners, Kalani had not and still has not lost a game when you guys have a halftime lead. Just a halftime lead has meant good things for you guys.
Yeah, well, hopefully we have a couple more of those here in the next couple games. So, but yeah, when we're playing and we kind of start fast and get things going, I think that momentum carries with us when we kind of come out and we sputter a little bit. And we even did that game. You know, we started out, you know, punting, and then the next series was 3 and out, and then defense, you know, they miss a field goal, pushes them back, and the game started a little slow for us, but kind of expected that with Joe and first start and kind of those first game jitters. And then we settled in and were able to kind of get some things going. He hit a big pass to Micah Simon down the middle, kind of got us going.
Well placed. So that's a big thing, too, because 17 yards in the first quarter, only 8 plays, only 4 minutes. Defense was on the field a lot in that opening quarter, but you're not losing at that point. It's a field goal miss, it's a punt, and it's an INT in the end zone. So all of a sudden you get out of the first quarter going, okay, we weren't our best offensively, but we're not behind. Let's go get it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that was kind of the thing. Okay, you know, Joe settle in. Let's see if we can't get him going a little bit, hit a couple plays, and he did, and then kind of, you know, carried over from there. We kind of got things going, a nice third down conversion to Aleva. Almost got it in, and then we punch it in with Braden, and that kind of settled everything down. All the guys, the sideline, I know it settled Joe down a little bit and got him into the game. So that was a good drive to kind of kick things off for us.
All right, break time. Coming up after this, we'll talk about Joe Critchlow's preferred targets in the UNLV game, how well those two guys have played, particularly as we talk about that game and look ahead to UMass. Ty Detmer with us on the Coordinator's Corner. We're at JCW's in Provo on BYU Radio, ESPN 960, and BYU Football Facebook Live. Back in a bit.
Picture this. You have a big change coming up in your life, and you need to move.
Corner on the new skin BYU Sports Network. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
All right, so BYU 31, UNLV 21. Last Friday night's score in Las Vegas. BYU stays undefeated all time against UNLV in that stadium, now 9-0. A lot of good things to hit with Coach Ty Detmer here on the Coordinator's Corner. 14 passes completed by Joe Critchlow, and 11 of them go to Hefo and Bushman. Aleva was targeted 9 times, 6 catches. Matt targeted 5 times, 5 catches. So he knew where he wanted to go. 2 pretty reliable guys.
Yeah, you know, the type of defense they were playing, and a lot of 2 high looks, some cover 2 where they're clouding the outside guys, and that leaves the middle with some space, and obviously 11 and Matt are kind of in that area, and we're able to get some completions with them, and they did a good job of running after the catch on a few of them as well. So that it just kind of worked out that way because of all the too high coverage we were getting, which meant more single coverage inside.
Again, only 22 passes attempted because Squally's running it so well. He goes for 213 yards on 25 carries. And those are significant numbers, and they relate to each other. He had only 12 carries against Fresno, more than doubled it against UNLV, and was one of the reasons you guys won the game.
Yeah, you know, when you're ahead in the second half and you're kind of playing that field position, two-score game, you're trying to run it and milk a little clock, keep the defense off the field, and so we were able to kind of get in that situation, and which means more carries for Squally, and he did a great job with it. You know, he showed some endurance and being able to, you know, carry the ball back to back a lot of times, and you know, then we mixed in enough pass to kind of keep them off balance, and you know, I thought, you know, overall offensive line played great, Squally played great, and you know, of course, Braden O'Backery's part of that, being a lead blocker on a lot of those things. And
got himself a score too. BYU runs for 265 at UNLV. Kalani's now 9-2 at 200+, and BYU's win rate for years and years is great when you get that many run yards. Okay, some stats here that you don't necessarily care about, but I'm going to throw at you anyway. You guys had season highs against UNLV in play success rate, in percentage of available yards gained, in percentage of drives with 2+ first downs, and a percentage of explosive drives, that is drives averaging 10 yards a play. Those are all kind of minuscule, kind of drill it down stats, but they all indicate an offense that's moving it consistently and productively and not having a lot of negative plays.
Yeah, that was, you know, a good thing to see. We averaged 6.3 yards per rush, which is something we kind of look at, like how's the rush efficiency of things we're doing, and we went into the game, you know, one of our goals offensively was to have 5 explosives, and we had 5, and then several others that were a yard or two short. You know, we consider a run of 15 yards an explosive, and we had some 12 and 11s, and quite a few of those, which don't show up as an explosive, but it's a first down, and you're back on the ball with a new set of downs again. So
pass of 20, run of 15. Is that how you look at it?
Yeah. So we hit our goal of 5, but you know, we were just short on a few others, which is a good thing. You know, we're still gaining a bunch of yards per play, and so that was important for us to stay on track and keep those drives alive. And you know, unfortunately, we were still only 2 of 10 on third down, so we've got room for improvement there. And we got to be tighter in the pass game, a little sharper, a little miscommunication early on a couple things, and then you know, we chose to play conservative last couple drives down there in the red zone, and make sure we took the points and took time off the clock. So, you know, it probably wasn't as bad as what the stats actually show, along with our red zone performance, because we took a knee and chose not to kick a field goal in the one also. So sometimes those things are deceiving.
A little bit skewed
and,
there.
You kind of take all that into consideration, but we can be a little tighter on third down.
You mentioned third down, 2 of 10, but of the big 3 I look at, third down being one, field position being another, turnover margin being the other, you win 2 of the 3. And if you win 2 of the 3, field position and turnover margin being the 2, you're going to put yourself in really good shape. You were, it was your best starting field position of the season, your own 40. The Fred pick late helps to skew that a bit, but the bottom line is you were playing with a shorter field in front of you most of the night, and that kind of stayed game long. You're also a season high in yards gained on first down, average yard gain 7.9 on first downs against UNLV. And if it's all about down and distance, you're off to a great start.
It is. You know, we had the one long run by Squally, which probably skews that a little bit, but overall, I mean, we were in second and short, second and medium the whole night, and so that makes your play calling a lot easier when you know you can kind of dial up anything out of the playbook and go to another run and give yourself third and short. Right. So that definitely helps as a play caller.
All right, quarterback situation. Kalani confirmed for the media this morning Bo Hodge is done for the year, right?
Yeah, he had a toe that he really injured at Utah State, and then he had some time off with the concussion in the toe, and thought he was back feeling pretty good, and early in that Fresno game kind of re-injured it and battled through it, you know, but he wasn't his self, and so, you know, went and got an MRI after and kind of confirmed some things that it's a little more damage in there than first reported and first thought. So we were kind of hoping, you know, for the best, but unfortunately he's going to be in a boot probably for the next couple weeks as well.
So you start the UNLV game with a true freshman starter, and true freshman backup. Not sure that we can see that in the history of BYU football if we go back. That's an unusual situation to be in. So how was that week getting 2 rookies ready to go?
Well, it was good. I mean, they both put the time in. They stayed in extra, and were texting me, can I come watch film with you? And so, they knew where they were at and the situation they're in, and they're both, good young men that want to work at it and want to be accountable to their teammates. And so, we felt like we could keep the scheme simple enough that, last week that we could kind of manage it for them a little bit and help them with the reads and things like that. So fortunately we were able to do that, and then of course being able to run the ball took the pressure off of them. But they were great during practice, and both got some reps, and I know Cody'd be ready to go, and he can't wait to get in there and throw it around himself. So they're good young men. They work well together, and we're good on the sideline with each other.
So Joe Critchlow's the 1, Cody Wilsted's the 2. Cody did not get in at UNLV, and that's a good thing, I guess. Joe played it so well. A couple of things before the break. What makes Joe go? What's the secret to his success? What makes him a good option for you right now at quarterback?
Well, he came in and really studied the playbook and had a good grasp of it in training camp, even with limited reps there, just with Tanner and Bo and Coy and those guys getting a lot of the reps early. But we got him, enough that we felt comfortable having him ready to go if needed this season. And sure enough, we've needed him, and he's real conscientious, smart, bright young man that's real positive. I mean, you see his interview after the game, and it's like he's bouncing off the walls.
I know.
But that's his personality, and he's a fun, energetic guy that carries himself well and a lot of confidence, and so hopefully that carries on to the rest of the group and keeps them upbeat and going in the huddle, and during the week he's putting the time in and very conscientious.
We had listeners make us aware in postgame that the TV broadcast showed a lot of Coy acting as kind of another coach on the sidelines there. Maybe you saw the same thing or see it anyway. You know who Coy is. What about that is just who he is, and how much can that help Joe or Cody in what they're having to do?
Well, he wants to coach when he's done at either college level or the NFL, and he'll be a great coach because he puts the time in, he sees it, he understands it. He's been around football his whole life, and whether he's playing or been demoted or whatever, he's just got a great attitude, and he's a team guy all the way. I mean, the players love him, and he just is one of those guys that fits in with every group on the team, and the guys respect him because they know he knows his stuff and he understands it, and he's just a great teammate and a great person to have on the sideline for me, because he can kind of go, and sometimes I'd like to know what he's saying because I'm not always there. It's like, now be careful what you tell guys, but
you think you can trust him though, don't you?
I do, yeah. He's a great young man and puts the time into it, and loves the team, loves being out there and being a part of it, whatever capacity that is. All
right, closing segment with Ty Detmer is coming up next. If you have questions for Ty, send them in. We'll try and find time for you. #CCBYU on Twitter. Ty Detmer with us, BYU's QB coach and OC on the Coordinator's Corner. We're at JCW's in Provo on BYU Radio, ESPN 960, and BYU Football Facebook Live.
Picture this.
I'd like to know what he's saying. It's pretty demonstrative. He's saying something really important.
Sports Network. Let's head back to JCW's in Provo and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
All right, so a couple of 3-win teams going head-to-head Saturday. BYU home to UMass Senior Day for BYU. You're not going to be able to list them all off, but a couple of the seniors you're going to miss next year that we're going to be seeing for the last time in Provo this weekend.
Yeah, well, we've got 5 on offense, and those 3 interior linemen, you'll miss Tijon, Tooney, and Kean, and then Tanner Baldery's been a guy that's just willing to do whatever he can for the team, and then Jonah, so that's our 5 on offense, but they're all great young men, and really enjoyed getting to know them and seeing them, progress here the last couple years, and then defensively, there's a great group over there, and obviously Fred's probably the leader of that group talent-wise, and we'll miss him for sure. But overall, I mean, it's a great group of young men that fun to be around every day. And even though our record's not what we had hoped it would be, they've had a great attitude and come to work, and nobody's ever hung their head and just moped and pouted. They've bought in and really, come out each week with effort and play with pride, and the leaders are those seniors. Between offense and defense, though, fair to say more back than not back next year, which is positive. There is, yeah. That's kind of the light at the end of the tunnel here for this year, is we've gotten a lot of great experience from guys that we're going to see for another year or two, and feel like they're progressing, and where they need to get to is coming, and just more experience, more time in the weight room, more time on the practice field. It's it's time with a lot of these guys, but we're excited with the group we have coming back. How much is more time as coaches too, together and with the system and getting things figured out? Yeah, I mean, we've kind of morphed, and I've learned a ton this year, going through the different quarterbacks, different running backs, different groups, and how to kind of manage that and try to do what our guys do best, and morph into a different type of offense that maybe we anticipated coming out of fall camp. So we're different than we thought we would be, and so in turn I've learned a lot about those things and some different concepts that you study up on and implement. And so this offseason will be big for us to go and professional develop and pick some other coaches' brains and things that they're doing to put more points on the board. Question coming in from Josh Shimizu for Coach Detmer says, congrats on such a gratifying win Friday. What has kept you motivated and able to weather the stress and maybe even times of doubt during this particularly rough season? Well, I think for one, it's your job, but for two, it's your your pride in what you do and trying to go out there and put the best product you can on the field, to stay the course, and we've got to go out, and as coaches we've got to be positive every week and have our players believe in what we're asking them to do, and so you got to put your best foot forward every week, and we're always optimistic going into a game. I don't think there's any we go into saying, well, let's just get through this one healthy and we'll get on to the next one. That's never been the case for our staff, and I don't believe our players either. So it's a group concerted effort that we're going to be down maybe Sunday after a game, a tough loss, and you can't let it carry over into Monday, Tuesday, or it's going to be another long week the next week. You have 2 games left. Hope is to win out and finish with 5 wins. If that happens, you'll be 1 win shy of bowl eligibility, and you'll look back probably and figure out where was that 1 win, how could it have happened, but there's always, I guess, a lot of what-ifs and coulda, shoulda-haves in the course of a season. Yeah, there's a few games you look back and are disappointed that you didn't come out on top, or, things we could have done differently, and those are always going to be games that stand out, whether you're 10-2 or 5-8 or whatever it may be. You always look back at those games and say, man, we should have won that one, or we a better team than the team we lost to, and so what do we do? How do you learn from that and try not to let that happen again? But every year is a new year, and the ball bounces a different way every year, or injuries, or whatever it may be. It's this year's kind of been one of those years where if it's going to go wrong, it has to some point. And it's, as coaches, for me, it's control what you can control, and you can't just go in a hole on the things you can't. Once you call a play, it's kind of left up to the players. Hopefully they've been schooled up enough that they can execute it and be successful.
I'm sure you're proud of the way the guys did respond, though, on the road in a tough season to do what they did on Friday night. And I know the celebration had to be genuine, and the hope is we got 2 more of those celebrations to come.
It was, for sure. You know, it's never easy to win on the road. And we had a great fan support group there. I mean, it looked like a high school game where our bleachers were blue and theirs were red. And to have that energy from our fans was awesome, and a genuine celebration because of, you know, Joe's first start, and the guys were behind him, and just the way we played the game with passion and pride. That goes a long way in a win.
Well, congrats on that win. It was fun to see, and hopefully 2 more of those to come starting this Saturday home to UMass.
Yeah, they're a tough team. They play physical and give you a lot of different looks on defense, so we're going to have to be sharper and ready for man coverage. All
right, we'll look for that on Saturday. It is BYU home to UMass. It'll be an 11 a.m. pregame and a 1 o'clock kick for the Cougars and the Minutemen. All right, for Coach Ty Detmer and Elisa Tuiaki in the first half hour, I'm Greg Wrubell. Thanking you for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday on the Coordinator's Corner, BYU Radio, ESPN 960, BYU Football Facebook Live. So long.